UK man arrested for burning the Quran. Is free speech dead? The arrest of a UK man for burning a Quran in Manchester has ignited a fierce debate over free speech and the rise of de facto blasphemy laws in Europe. The 47-year-old was taken into custody after live streaming himself setting fire to the Islamic holy book near the Glade of Light Memorial, which is the memorial for the victims of the Manchester Ariana Grande terrorist attack. So he did it at this memorial with the police ended up charging him. The police charged him with racially or religiously aggravated intentional harassment or harm. His act was reportedly in solidarity with Salwan Momika, the Iraqi-Swedish refugee who was assassinated after staging similar Quran burning protests in Sweden. In response to the arrest, Humanist UK warned no disrespect or damage to a sacred text can ever justify violence against a human being, condemning the erosion of free expression. Critics fear the UK is sliding towards state enforced blasphemy laws, especially after police publicly released the suspect's name, endangering his life. As Europe grapples with balancing free speech with religious sensitivities, this case raises urgent questions. Is the right to offend now a crime? So there are certain things about this case that are full-blown insane, and is free speech dead in the UK? I'm gonna say yeah, honestly. Um, because he was found guilty. This man pled guilty to this quote unquote crime. Now, obviously, the position that we take here at Atheist Republic is that blasphemy is not a crime. It's the most obvious thing in the world. Blasphemy is not a crime because none of us have the right to be free from being offended. None of us have the right to be protected from offense by the government with the enforcement of the monopolization of state violence vis-a-vis the police. That's insanity because it is impossible to maintain equality under the law if that is our standard. It is not a level of harm. The offense you experience is not a level of harm that is so egregious as to require intervention by the government. Because again, it's an impossible standard to apply equally under the law. And it okay, so apparently this guy was burning this Quran in front of this memorial for the that commemorates the victims of the 2017 Manchester Arena bombing. Again, another Islamic terrorist attack. Um, and he was approached by another man. Where was the who tried to stop him from doing it? Who freaked out over how offensive it was, and it said that he caused him great harm and all this stuff. Um, wait, where I wanna find the details about, the guy that tried to stop him. One second.
I
No.
have some. I have a video of a man being arrested for burning the Quran. I can show that. I can download that and show that as well. I don't know if this is the same guy, but let me actually. Well, I don't know if you want to do that, show that. But it's all over two
Okay, so
minutes.
basically what happened is there was this guy who witnessed the Quran burning, tried to stop him, and basically was just talking about how he was so offended, he's never experienced emotions like he experienced in that moment and all this stuff. The problem is that he is charged with a certain crime. And the crime that he was charged with was Public Order Act 1986 under section 4A or section 5. but which is treated as racially or religiously aggravated under Section 31 of the Crime and Disorder Act, which increases the penalty when hostility towards a racial or religious group is demonstrated or presumed. So, this is automatically a de facto blasphemy law. Because when the religious group is the one deciding or that it is hostility or that it is demonstrated and presumed, then that means that they're dictating those laws. Like, you don't the UK is not a theocracy. What kind of nonsense is this? How can you say that hostility towards a racial or religious group has been demonstrated when he was I remember following on Twitter him posting about how he was gonna do this on Twitter before it happened. I found his account and he was, like, posting his updates about what he was gonna do and where he was gonna do it, and he made it clear the entire way that he was doing this in solidarity with Salman Momika, who was someone who was murdered for their free expression. Like, am I being stupid? If you declare your motive and your motive is to be in solidarity with people who were assassinated because of their free expression by a certain group, how is that like religiously aggravated hatred? When you're stating that your intention, you're stating your motive this whole time. And so not only was this man he pled guilty, so not only has he pled guilty to this quote unquote crime, but the police n- published his name. They
Yeah,
published
what
his
the hell is
name knowing full well what happens to people who are accused of blasphemy in the UK. Let us not forget that the Batley Grammar School teacher who is giving lessons to his students once again about a foundational principle of the nation of Britain, which is free expression. And because he gave that lesson, and I think showed pictures of Charlie Hebdo as an example, the Muslim community was so riled and targeted against him that that teacher had to go into hiding several years later, almost 4 years later, remains in hiding, had to change his name, and suffers from PTSD. So we all know full well what the consequences are. And they decide to publish his name for this? I don't know. That's beyond the pale for me. That's absolutely insane. Um, and once again, we see a pattern emerging across Europe that the people who are not doing anything to hurt anyone are being charged with crimes for doing what they want to their own property,
yeah,
for causing
one thing
offense.
people would it be again, I'm asking only asking a question, only asking a question, okay? Because I think it's actually helpful if in reaction to this, again, I don't want to promote anything only if it's legal within your country, okay? For legal reasons, I'm not promoting anything illegal on this YouTube channel, okay? I do think it would be helpful for practical reasons for more people to burn the Quran. or insult the Quran. That would reduce violence. And I could argue this forever, and I am correct about this. Burning more Qurans, insulting more Qurans in the face of this is actually good for safety and security, because we don't negotiate with terrorists. If you bend the knee, if you back down in response to threats of violence, you get more violence. You're signaling to the people who use violence as a threat that their violence is working. You know, I love blasphemy as much as any anti religious atheist out there, okay? But this is not about just doing blasphemy because we love doing blasphemy. This is actually doing blasphemy for safety and security reasons. This makes practical sense. I know some people do blasphemy because it's just fun to do blasphemy. And some people do blasphemy as a fuck you to the religious people and to the religious uh, the harm that they have received from religious authorities and religious teachings and religious law. But there's a third and practical reason here. You have you have to continue doing this because not doing it promotes more violence. However, I have to say that for the safety of this channel, I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything that is illegal. Is that would it be illegal for me to suggest that? I mean, apparently it is. Let me know, guys. Anybody has legal advice here? But I think this is cowardly. This is negotiating. This is but and also regarding two-tier policing, any hate speech laws, any limitation on expression of views that could be categorized as limitation of something that could be hateful would ban all Abrahamic religions. How is the Quran and the Hadith allowed in the UK to be taught in mosques and in schools while you keep pretending that you have hate speech laws, that free speech needs to be limited in some way, and hate speech is not included in freedom of expression, and you're still allowing the Quran and the Hadith to be taught in your mosques? There is no way you could argue. Like, even if I'm not, okay, but even if I was for limiting speech to some degree, to limit hateful expression against uh, expression of hate against other groups of people, any form of any law that wants to do that would have to ban everything that is Islam. So I don't understand this. So somebody explain it to me, because I don't get it. How are they going to do that? I don't understand.
I don't know,
But
the absolute
it's
state of things.
these are not what the things that I'm saying is obvious. Like, this is not like, whoa, mind blowing. Wow, Armin, this is so. That's a genius point. These are not even interesting anymore. These are obvious points. Actually, it seems to be not obvious to Little Missy in the chat, because I wanted to respond to her. Little Missy in the chat was Little Missy in the chat was saying, "Can we all just get along and not burn Qurans?"
Why?
How not? Okay, first of all, not burning. If you want to get along, then let people express themselves in whatever they want, and you just get on with your fucking lives. How is this getting along if certain people are being threatened with violence for burning pieces of paper, fucking paper, and you want us to stop doing that? Isn't that just rewarding the people who are using violence? How is that getting along? You on one side you have people that use the threat of violence, and on another side you have people that are defending the freedom of expression, and then you are telling, for the sake of getting along, you're talking to the people who are defending the freedom of expression. The people who want to enforce Sharia on Western in Western countries, they
let me
should
tell
not
you
be.
something. They're not gonna stop at not burning the Quran. Let me make something
Right.
very clear. They will never stop at just the Quran. Never.
Yes, they're here to implement Sharia, and the people who are burning the Quran are trying to stand in their way because the government is not helping them. If how much do you think we could how do you think this idea of getting along is going to work when you have Muslims in the UK get to from 6% of the population to 10% of the population, making them a major voting bloc in your politics? How do you think people are going to get along when Muslims are saying that with 6% of the population, they are changing the laws in the UK to the point where the police is arresting people for burning the Quran? You are encouraging them. They're going to become more and more motivated to come for all your politics, and you want to bend the knee to that? Do you think when these people have more power in your politics, people you are going to be able to get along in the UK? Wait for if you just roll over and let these people just walk all over you, just say goodbye to. Do you think they want to get over? They don't want to get. Do you think these people want to get along with you? They want you to submit fully, and the more you let them, I mean, it's your doom. I don't know where you live, little missy, but this is the price you have to pay. Some people, it's funny, some people are standing up to that, and instead of thanking them, you're basically asking them to back
Blaming
down.
them, saying, "Oh, why don't you just be nice? Why don't you just be nice? You're being so mean. Why don't you just be nice?" It's pathetic.
Yeah. And also,
Why in the
little missy
world would
was
I
saying
ever
that.
be nice in the face of people that want me dead? Hungry Goat has an absolutely retarded commentary here. Saying, playing devil's advocate for a second, if that piece of paper was a constitution, would you still make the same argument? Okay, first of all, let's split hairs here for a second. If it was a copy of the constitution, yeah, and it's your own
Yes.
property, burn it. I literally could not care less. Second of all, if it was the constitution, first of all, I think that just because it gets burned doesn't mean that those laws cease to exist. But second of all, the issue would be that you're destroying a historical artifact that is not your own property. It would be property destruction. It'd be vandalism. That's our problem. You can go burn a copy of your own. You go. I can go print it out right now. I'll go rip it up right now.
Yeah,
I
I did.
couldn't
I
care
have.
less. Who
I
fucking
have.
cares?
Okay, so for this comparison to make sense, if somebody goes and takes a Quran from an ancient Quran from a museum and burns that man should go to jail for a very, very freaking long time. Okay, so when you say burn the Constitution, what are you talking about? Okay, did he order a copy of the Constitution from Amazon and now it's his property and he's burning it? Yeah, sure. What the hell not? I have actually, to make that point, I printed the U.S. Constitution on my show, on my Persian show, and I burned it because people said I would not dare do that. Okay, people were like, "Oh, Armin is a hypocrite. He only burns the Quran." People, on actually I tore it apart. So this is what I did. Okay, I tore apart the LGBT flag, the Constitution, the flag of Israel, because these are the things that I was accused I would never do, and my own freaking picture. Okay, I printed my picture and I tore it apart. I spit on
And
my
your
own
own
picture and
book.
I tore it apart. And my own book, I tore it apart. A book that I wrote, I tore that apart. Who the fuck cares? It's my property. If you take someone else's Quran that does not belong to you and you steal it from them and then you tear that apart or burn that, that is damaging of someone else's property. That's a crime. You should get arrested for that. Okay? But who cares about burning a constitution that you bought on Amazon? The constitution is not going to go away because you burned a copy of it that you own. It's your freaking property.
Yeah. Like, I feel like someone in the UK should just go in public and burn a Bible just to see if the same bullshit happens. Just start make a campaign. You could literally be a Christian yourself and go make a campaign where you just go burn a Bible in public, like repeatedly, just to be like, "Oh, so no one cares? So no one cares. So we're and I'm not getting arrested and I'm not being charged with a crime. So we're just all acknowledging that this is just two-tier policing. We just all know that now because I'm proving it right
Yeah.
now." Like, seriously. What in the world would happen? Would the police be called if they were burning the Bible in public? I'd be shocked. So stupid.
Oh,
You could go
Mrs.
if
saying
you
Bible is
owned
not
your
a
own
word of
Torah
God.
scroll and you owned your own if you owned your own Torah scroll and you decided to go burn that, I couldn't give a shit either. Like, are we not adults here?
So so little Missy in the chat is saying, but the Bible is not the word of God though. Okay, so
I don't
little
think
Missy,
that's the name
you're
of this channel.
no, wait. No, so actually that's a good point because by enforcing that for the Quran and not enforcing that for the Bible, little Missy is saying that the US police should accept the authority of the Quran, the divine nature of the Quran. So you're asking, so little Missy, this is what you're doing. This is actually a point for ours. Okay. So by enforcing this for the Quran, the government of the UK has now recognized the Quran to be a divine verbatim word of God. This is what UK people, this is what your government has been reduced to acknowledging and accepting and submitting to the idea that the Quran is the word of God. Congratulations, you're no longer a secular country. The nature of the Quran as the verbatim word of God has officially been recognized by your government. You're not a secular country anymore.
It's so
Unfucking
stupid.
believable.
Wait,
Unfucking believable.
Hungry Goat is saying, point is we all know well that it's about more than just pieces of paper. Both the Constitution and the Quran symbolize something. If a Muslim burned a Western Constitution, you wouldn't not give a shit. No, okay, Hungry Goat. It's
I
because
will
I'm
come and defend it.
intelligent. It's because I'm intelligent enough to separate certain things. So I would not actually care at all about him burning it as long as it's his own property. If he's doing it while making statements about how he doesn't recognize the legitimacy of the construction of a nation state and wants to establish a caliphate, I would take issue with the values that he's promoting out of his mouth and not with the actual just burning of some pieces
Right.
of paper. Is that
Right. So you're yeah, I think you're mixing Hungry Goat is mixing two different things. Whether we support the ideas or not, whether we support the freedom of expressing something or not. Okay. So if you support the Constitution, if you're against the Constitution of the United States and support the Quran, well, we disagree with you. Okay. We think that the US Constitution is a good constitution and we think the Quran is absolute garbage. Okay. But when it comes to expression, if you want to make a statement by burning the Quran or burning the Constitution of the United States, as long as it's your own property, whether we agree with you or we don't agree with you, we support your right to express yourself in either way. The agreement or disagreement, that's a different issue. Even if I disagree with you 100%, like let's say you're against the Constitution of the United States, well, I disagree with you. Would I fight for your right to be able to express yourself by burning it in a way that doesn't harm you or anyone else and it's your own property? I will absolutely support you expressing that wrong opinion. If I would be against any government wanting to limit you. If a Muslim gets arrested for burning a US Constitution that they bought and own, I would come here and defend that Muslim's right for for expressing his opinion in that way. I would do that. I would take advantage of the opportunity to be able to show my consistency in this.
yeah.
Yes.
I think people are confusing the fact that we might have opinions about what someone's intention and statement is when they make this kind of a statement through burning something, and they're confusing that with should the government be involved in criminalizing this in state intervention to stop it and punish it. Those are
Right.
those are two separate things. I can have my own opinion about a Muslim doing this right here. But should the state be involved in criminalizing it? No. We in fact we oppose a lot of the stuff that France has regarding their insult to national symbols, for example. We've come out
Right.
and criticized that for years.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Torah Worldwide
Like
is
we
saying,
like
"I think you guys are wrong about this." Explain why. Explain why we are
explain.
wrong
Yes,
for asking
explain.
for equality under the law when it comes to free expression. And
Right.
the question of if the state should be involved in enforcing state power over individual citizens when it comes to the protection of some symbols over others. Why?
Yeah. Why is your symbols all of a sudden more worthy of protection of other people's? Like, I don't know. This is so idiotic. Ariel is saying he didn't say he would burn a book. He did it. It's not speech. Ariel. It's called freedom of expression.
I'm gonna
All
leave,
forms of
man.
expression. It's called expression. Expression could be done with speech. It could be done with a dance. It could be done with a performance. It could be done with music. It could even be done with silence. You know how it could be done with silence? In China, for example, when Chinese protesters when they were protesting, because anything they would say would make that would lead the government to arrest them, they just were holding signs they were holding empty pieces of paper that said nothing on them, and because people understood what it was gonna they wrote nothing on it, right? They're just like, what I wanted to write on this paper, and I didn't, so I don't get arrested. And by the way, the Chinese government made the sale of A4 printing papers illegal because so many people in China were coming out and
Oh
holding
my.
empty pieces of paper as a sign of
You know
protest.
that
Okay,
an
sometimes.
activist in Australia got arrested for doing that same thing? An Australian citizen got arrested for doing that outside of a Chinese consulate,
Okay, little
just
Missy
holding up
is
a
so
blank piece of
stupid.
paper.
Little Missy saying there will always be rules. You are an idiot, Little Missy. I'm sorry. Okay. So yes, there are rules there can be rules for you to have your seatbelt on when you're driving. Okay. And there could be rules. We have a rule for a country that you will be executed if you go 1 kilometer, like if you go above 60 on a highway. Like what? Like just because there are rules, like, oh well, every country has their own rules. Yeah, and some of them are fucking retarded. Just because all countries have rules, that doesn't make they all make sense. I mean, I don't think you're very intelligent, so I'm not going to engage with
I
you.
have to call out this person, Torah, and I'm a little bit disappointed because I actually really like a lot of the stuff you say in our community. But he's saying I'd be really hurt if someone burned the Torah. It's a dishonor for Hashem. Burning the Quran is different because it's a violent book, and burning it is a reaction. Torah, you are on your face asking for special privileges above other people in the matter of the law.
Right.
You are asking that you deserve special privileges above others under the law. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
Hmm.
In my country, that's unacceptable. If this is someone's own property, they decide to do this. Why should the government be involved in enforcing its state power upon that individual because of your privilege should be above other people's in the law? That's not equality. This is like a
And
foundational liberal principle.
also, if you get hurt by seeing something, it's your job not to look at it. So if you get hurt by seeing the Quran being burned or the Torah being burned, okay, then it should be illegal for somebody to force you to see that, right? But if they're not forcing you to see that, then the responsibility of not seeing the things that you don't want to see is on you, not the person expressing themselves or not the person creating a content. If I write a book that is offensive to you, it's your job not to read it. It's not my job not to write it. It's your job not to read it. If you don't like seeing, again, so this is why If I burn the Quran sometimes or I insult the Quran on my shows, I do a trigger warning. Okay. Tell people, I say to Muslim that I'm watching, like, guys, I'm about to rip, I'm about to spit on the Quran and turn it apart. And if you don't like this, don't watch it. Because I think you should have the right to choose the things that you want to see. I mean, I would also maybe give an advice to grow a thicker skin and stop being such a pussy, and maybe don't be offended so easily. But that's on you. If you still don't, if you don't want to, that's your choice. It's a crime. It would be a crime. I would agree that it's a crime that if a Muslim doesn't want to see a Quran being burned, and I go in their face and I make it impossible for them not to see it, I should be arrested for harassment if I do that. But if I have a YouTube video says like, hey, I'm gonna burn the Quran in this video, okay? If you see a Quran being burned, you clicked on it, motherfucker. The reason why I would make that video is to show that you don't get to stop me. Don't like it, don't watch it. Anyways.
And if you're offended by someone doing this, I get it. I mean, well, I don't get it. I'm an atheist. But like theoretically, I get it. There are things that like offend me, but I have to like, come to terms with it. I realize the world doesn't evolve around what I find offensive. I mean, clearly I find a lot of things in most religions offensive. But I'm surrounded by religious people promoting it all day long. I move on. Because what offends me is definitely not privileged in the law. Because atheists and what offends us is definitely not privileged in the law.
Right. Yeah,
Oh my
so
god.
and all yeah, you're not asking for. I mean, if we had our if I'm offended by the all the religious texts, to be honest, the things that are there. You don't
Yeah.
see me asking for them to be banned,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
So
I advocate for certain religious rituals to be banned for sure. But
yeah, but
that's
that's
that's separate.
rituals, of
Yeah,
course.
that's
That is
different.
harming children, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so should we go to the super chats?
But wait, before shouldn't we read the
Oh,
comments
yeah,
that
yeah,
Dee
yeah.
selected for us? Yeah. So this is just the arrest, or
Yeah.
the pictures of the arrest. Yeah. The arrest looks very intense, by the way. Look at the number of police that showed up for this, right? And then we have, I don't know if should we post, should I show the video of the arrest? I mean, I could play it while we're reading the super chats, okay? But oh,
Yeah,
here's a
someone
comment.
saying, "Is burning a book illegal? If the police are going to say it's a Quran, then they are enforcing Islamic law in the UK, and people are not gonna stand for that." Well, I mean, I agree, but the problem is apparently they're enforcing laws regarding perceived or presumed religious or racial, like, aggravated hatred or whatever.
Right.
This is why I'm
And
against,
then
like, hate speech laws, period. Um, what a shame they weren't so enthusiastic when investigating child rapists. Yeah,
that's a good one.
shocking.
That's a good one. And also, you're basically signaling to Muslims that they are stronger. You know what I mean? Like the people. So when you don't investigate the child rapists, right? You're showing the Muslim community that that the police of this country fears you. When they arrest people for burning the Quran, they are signaling to the Muslim community in the UK that, oh, look, you are so powerful that the people who are supposed to enforce the law, they limit themselves. Not only they limit themselves when it comes to enforcing the law, they actually use their forces to silence the people who might offend you. So what do you, if I was part of this Muslim community, I'm like, expressing offense and anger and looking like crazy and looking like we could get violent at any time, it's paying off. Why should we stop? Like people are like, oh, why wouldn't these people act less violent? Because it's paying off. Acting like you're a maniac, like what, you have the government bending the knee towards you. Why would they change their strategy? It makes strategic sense for them to continue.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I say one more thing that I almost forgot to
Yeah,
say?
go.
So, and when talking about this incident, Assistant Chief Constable Stephanie Parker said, "We understand the deep concern that this will cause within some of our diverse communities and are aware of a live video circulating. We made a swift arrest at the time and recognize people have a right to freedom of expression. But when it crosses into an intimidation to cause harm or distress, intimidation into cause harm or distress, we will always look to take further action when is reported to us." Can I just say,
Go.
I think the police in the UK literally need to be banned from this. This is a restriction on free expression I'm supporting. Uh, they need to be banned from saying diverse communities all the time when it comes to instances like this. You know why? Because then over time, because people already do this, I'm not saying anything revolutionary here, people are going to associate diverse communities with, oh, threats of violence. Oh, diverse communities associated with my free expression and my rights get taken away. Oh, diverse communities means I get treated differently and they get treated with kid gloves. Oh, diverse communities means two-tier policing. This is the association that is going to be built when you keep on highlighting diversity as our strength in the face of stuff like this, and then it's gonna build resentment. So, from a PR point of view, I am begging you, please stop saying this.
Do you want to see something crazy? Because I was about to say, I disagree with all Muslims over Islam. All Muslims, I would never back down. Islam is shit. Okay. Um. However, there are a lot of Muslims that I like, that I respect for the other opinions and the other work that they do. Even
Same.
though I would never back down, and on calling their ideology of Islam shit. I could still uh, acknowledge where they write about other things and the good work they're doing in other things. Okay, and I also want to mention that uh, the Muslims who are good people, even though they have a shit ideology, they have managed to remain good people. All right, those Muslims, right? If you are not coming out and speaking out against this, because this is an insult to you, the government
Mm.
of the UK is treating you like a pathetic little child that has to be protected over, like they're treating other people in this country, in the UK, as adults, and you are being treated like children that cannot just take it. Okay, and this is an insult to you. And if
Or
some people think, yeah.
or you're being treated like a thug that needs to be catered
Mhm.
to so that you don't have an outburst of deadly violence.
Right. And some people might say, Armin, you're asking for too much. You really think that there are Muslims who will come here and speak in defense of people who are burning the Quran and find this offensive? Well, I have a video for you of a Muslim woman, who did just that. Again, I know this is rare, but I take a win where I could have
A
where
win
I
is
could
a
get it.
win.
A win is a win. Look at this Muslim woman who is support uh, after the murder of the Swedish Quran burner. Look at this. She came here and she in defense of him. This is what he did. Oh wait, the music. I'm gonna cut the
The
music because
irony is,
oh,
oh, now she's speaking.
okay, yeah. Let me see.
أفضل طريقة لحفظ القرآن الكريم هو حرقه عند تمزقه كي لا يهان أو يداس عليه، فقد أحرق عثمان بن عفان بعضا من المصاحف في وقته. انشروا هذا المقطع فالدال على الخير كفاعله.
Okay, so
وجزاكم
somebody
الله خير الجزاء.
Somebody who speaks Arabic, please translate for us. I speak Persian. I don't speak Arabic. So if you speak Arabic, Play the let us know. But Susie, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say, and I think she might be talking about this. The irony is that the way that you're supposed to dispose of a Quran when it's damaged is you're supposed to burn it. I don't know if people know that. That's what
Yeah,
that's like how you're supposed
I
to
mean,
ritually dispose of a Quran that's damaged.
right, right. I mean, there are different schools of thought. Some people think that's the most respectful way of disposing of a Quran that is too old. Some people bury it. Some people just keep it in attics and like make sure that they're protected forever. There are different schools of thought, but there is one school of thought that even the other schools of thought that don't believe in it, they don't like challenge, they don't think like it's insane, like they don't attack it as like blasphemy. But one way of getting rid of Quran that is too old is burning it. Yeah.
Um, so let's go to the super chats. So we got a super chat from Durga in Sweden. Wait, I think I know who Durga is. I think Durga might be one of my secret new volunteers. If so, hi.
Ooh.
um, so excited to see you live. Then okay, we got a super chat from GJ celebrating his membership, saying, "I see his conviction as a direct sequel to Robinson." I mean, Tommy, the nature of Tommy's convictions are different. They are very different. I see why you would include them because he is so outspoken, and his outspokenness regarding Islam has put a target on his back. I don't think anyone would argue otherwise. Um, but I don't, to my knowledge, I don't think Tommy's desecrated the Quran publicly. Has he been charged with this like penalty regarding aggravated or presumed hate speech? I don't think so. I think it was the like defamation because of his documentary. Oh, so Valerie is saying to the people in the UK, join the Free Speech Union. And honestly, I would encourage people to do the same thing if you're a UK citizen. The Free Speech Union is a really cool organization. I follow them a lot. And basically, if you're a member and you get in trouble for free speech or expression related crimes, which is a crazy thing to say, or maybe you're fired from a job, they can provide you with legal resources. So it literally is like joining a union that will represent you. Um, although, of course, before you join, go look into the details because I'm not associated with them, so I don't know what don't heed my promise. Um, so GJ was saying, remember when I advocated Qurans being compulsorily labeled as inciting discrimination, hatred, violence, terrorism, holy warfare, FGM, etc.? I don't remember you
Yeah,
advocating for this. Like put a
but I'm for it.
like a smoker's warning label on it. May
I mean, if I've, I mean, that's not a bad idea if we already have that for other things that is not child friendly. Like we need to be consistent. If video games that are and movies and books that are violent are mandatory for them to get a label on them, then it should. Why wouldn't the Quran and why wouldn't the Bible, right? They if it's mandatory for them, no, you shouldn't enjoy some religious privilege. Either remove it from all, or if you're adding it to some, add it to the rest.
Bible contains graphic sexual violence. I'd
And
like to see how
incest.
that goes down.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it has incest.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gasian American is saying, not to split hairs, but the UK was never de jure secular. Parliament derives its power from the crown, and the crown derives it from God. No, I mean,
So
I see your point, Gasian.
secularism is not on. It's not binary. It's not. Do we have secularism? So there's two things you have to. So first of all, it's a spectrum. Second of all, sometimes there are things that are symbolic, and there are certain other things, and I'm against all of it, right? But I am more concerned about things that are actually influencing laws rather than things that are symbolic. I would like to get rid of symbolic religious influence as well for full-on secularism, right? But I am more concerned when religion is actually influencing policy and laws, than when you just have symbolic, religious symbols or ceremonies, or names for different parts of the government. Okay, both are worrisome. One of them makes you much less secular than the other one, right? And again, so that's how I see it. But
Oh, and by the way, Sarah was saying that that Muslim lady with the Quran was saying what I assumed, that the best way to preserve
Mhm.
the Quran is to burn it when it's torn, or so it's not trampled on.
Yeah. So what? Yeah.
Uthman burned the Quran, blah blah blah.
Okay, so Uthman, technically, when Uthman burned the Quran, he was
It was
burning
different, but
false Qurans. Yeah, so
yeah.
there's three things here. Okay, we have people who burn the Quran as a way to express a position against the Quran, people who burn the Quran, and that's what she was trying to make. She put out that video to try to encourage Muslims stop getting angry over Quran being burned, being saying this is part of our practice. Anyways, so then we have Muslims burning the Quran as a way to if it's torn, so people don't, it's not gotten rid of in a disrespectful way. And then we have Uthman burning the Quran. That was completely different. He was basically trying to codify the Quran into one book, and he was just basically getting rid of all the other books that were not the true Quran. I mean, and also that never happened. These are all stories that were basically made up in during the Abbasid dynasty. None of the stories are real. But yeah.
Okay. Woo, woo, woo. Okay. Um, oh my god, sorry, I lost my place in the super chats. Okay. Oh, Kenny gifted 5 Atheist Republic memberships.
Yay.
Thank you so much, Kenny. And we also had some comments that I thought were really interesting. Cece is here saying, I'm a Muslim that's against Sharia law and religious preachers, honestly. And so many Muslims are calling me a non Muslim for saying that. And Cece also said, responding to our disagreements with Torah Worldwide, saying, hey, Torah, I'm a Muslim. Free expression is free expression. But to be honest, some Muslims are so violent, like Quran burning is such a risky thing. And Cece also had a heavy support for your opinion, Armin, saying, thank you, Armin. As a Muslim in the UK, I am more insulted by the government than the burner.
See, like CC is the type of Muslims that I would, I mean, I would disagree with probably with him on his position on Islam, but our disagreement does not have to turn into hatred. We have other similar values, right? Again, he doesn't have to back down on his disagreement with my atheism. I don't have to back down on my disagreement with his Islam. We have other similar values in other areas that we could celebrate. He's for free speech, I'm for free speech. And we probably, if I met him in real life, we would probably get along and become good friends as well. I mean, this is what we want. We don't want we want Muslims and atheists and Christians and Jews not to stop their disagreement. We just want to make sure that we could express our disagreements passionately and still be able to live side by side. Okay, we don't want agreement to be a condition for friendship. That's what we want. I want to be as anti-Islam as I possibly can and still get along with Muslims while expressing my anti-Islam views. Okay,
Yeah.
is that too much to ask? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think CC would tell you here that is a lot of people are like, oh, that's impossible. I mean, how could you even imagine that a Muslim would befriend you while being so un-Islamic? Well, we
I
have
see it all the
Muslim
time.
fans. I see it all the fucking time, and this channel, this anti-Islamic channel, has Muslim fans. So there you go. It is possible.
Um, and then I like this. Yusuf is also loudly agreeing. I'm definitely more insulted by the persecution of Muslims than by the burning of the Quran.
Yes,
See,
and
this is
I wish
you have your priorities in the right place.
Right
Love to
place.
see it.
Again, this is the reason why we are so anti the word Islamophobia. Okay, because when they use the word Islamophobia, a lot of Westerners get concerned justifiably for attacks on Muslims, and then they call it Islamophobia, and they create bureaucracies and institutions fighting Islamophobia, and they put Muslims in charge of that, and those Muslims use all the funds not to go protect Muslims from harm, but to go protect Islam from insults. When you call attacks on Muslims Islamophobia, then don't do a Pikachu face, shock face when people that you gave the funds to go protect against Islamophobia, they're like, what is Islamophobia? Attacks on Islam. Like, no, motherfucker, you were supposed to protect Muslims, not Islam. Anyways,
Yeah, this is why we call it anti-Muslim bigotry, not
yes,
Islamophobia. Someone's like, "Oh, Sandy, you're an Islamophobe." I'm like, "Yeah, but not an anti-Muslim bigot." Okay. Um. Okay. So GJ saying, "Oh no, I think no. We didn't read this." GJ is saying the UK suffers from a lack of a properly written constitution. That the US now suffers from the Supreme Court and president lacking respect for a pretty good constitution. I mean, yeah, it's a whole wild ride over here. It's a whole wild ride. And by the way, Cece, I'm glad you're here, and I hope you stay.
yeah,
I love to hear your
appreciate you.
perspectives. It's valuable to us.
Yes,
Um, okay, so Uriel just gave £5, no comment. Thank you, Uriel.
thank you
And
for the
Tora is
support.
saying good vibes. See, like we can have
Yes,
disagreements, and it's not that big of a deal. That doesn't mean we
right.
don't like you. I mean,
Yes, yes.
some
By the
people
way,
express opinions that I don't like them for, but that's a different matter. Not you, Tora.
but yes, yeah, we would disagree with people who we're friends of in the live chat often. I just want to say the person who bought us membership gifts, thank you so much, because we just reached 230 members. And if you guys become members, that's the best way to support the channel, because we're trying to reach 1,000 members. And I told Susie, based on my calculations, if this channel reaches 1,000 YouTube members, then we are good financially. We don't have any more worries. We could just continue doing Atheist Republic forever. Okay, so we're trying
Mm.
to get us to 1,000 members. So thank you for the membership gifts.
I love this person who's like pissed. He's like, "Don't donate to them before they become Muslim first, brother."
Would you donate to us if we become Muslims? I will read the Shahada right now. I will become, and then I would leave after your donation. I would leave Islam again, and I would become a double ex-Muslim,
Yeah. No, you've already done that though. I think that you'd be like a quadruple ex-Muslim at this point.
quadruple ex-Muslim. Yes.
GJ gave us 2 super chats. Thank you, GJ, with some questions. Oh, and how do Muslims feel about Uthman? How could
Ooh,
anyone
depends.
tell Uthman which Quran is true in
No,
regards
that's
to
a debate
him
that.
burning and codifying?
Okay. So first of all, how do Muslims fear about Usman? If you're a Sunni, you respect him. If you're Shia, you hate him.
You hate
Right?
him. You curse him
Yeah.
with your whole heart.
You- You're
If you're really
cursed. You have
extreme,
to
you might
curse him
have
with passion.
birthday cakes to
Right.
celebrate his demise.
Right. And also, how does he know which Quran? So I guess I mean, he one way of explaining that is like Allah will promise that He will take care of the Quran. So whatever Uthman did, Allah works in mysterious ways, and he managed to do something that he picks the right one. There's that. But also there are some Shia narratives that says that Osmanic Quran is not the right Quran, and most of the Qurans, all the Qurans that we're holding today, is not the complete Quran, and it was Imam Ali, that was holding the right version of the Quran with all the parts, and Osman and Omar and all those evil people never accepted it. And when the Mahdi comes, the 12th Imam of the Shia comes, he will bring with him the complete version of the Quran that Ali was preserving. So that's,
Ya
by the way, this
Ali.
is some, yes, this is Ya Ali. So there's that's the version as well. So
Ay, ay, ay. Um, okay. So shall we move on? Oh, and now Mustafa is confirming what we say is the truth.
Yes, yes, yes. But among the three first caliphs, the one that is hated the most by Shias is Omar, the second one. Osman was the third caliph. And actually, the first civil war that happened within the Muslim community was over the murder of Osman, because Ali, when he became the fourth caliph, he refused to punish the murderers of Osman. And this is what started the civil war. And this is what also turned Aisha, the wife of Muhammad, into a war with Ali, which I never understood how Sunnis like Ali and Aisha at the same time, given that they were in a war with each other over the murder of Osman. So that's a whole other. Can Sunnis like? Oh, I actually know what some explanation is. It was the Jews who tricked them. And
Oh yeah, of course.
yes, yes, of course. Yeah.
You thought you were gonna get away with it this time.
right.
Ah.
Of course, you could
Oh.
usually explain most problems away Islamically with it was the Jews. Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do. And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.